What it do, Crew Excellence? It's your boy, Justin Strickland, the host of the Ladder Podcast. And we got to have this discussion, man. I've really been trying to avoid this discussion. Be honest, man. I got a couple AI tools. They help me find topics. And YouTube's AI tool has been trying to get me to talk about this for 3 months. And I'm like, bro, there's other stuff to talk about. I've been finding other things to talk about. I got to talk about it. I saw a video yesterday and I was like, all right, bro, we got to talk about it. We got to talk about Trump's desire to be a dictator. And this is what prompted this discussion we're having today, okay? I saw a video of him. I looked like getting on an airplane. I don't even know who he was talking to. But he's talking about North Korea and Kim Jong-un. And he makes a comment that's like, he's like, yeah, he's a really strong leader, regardless of what you might hear about him. And he says his people listen. Like when he talks, they sit up and listen. And I want my people to do that too. Something along the lines of that, right? Basically saying he wants the same respect and attention that the North Korea dictator gets. And I think this is to me, this was the final straw as far as Donald Trump openly admitting he would like to be a dictator. Now, do I think that's going to happen? No. But that's not what this podcast is about, all right? This podcast is about leadership, and I want to talk about what a dictator is, how they operate, why they often fail, and why it's a poor choice for leadership. Before we get into that, let me tell you about the podcast. This is the Ladder Podcast. It exists because we believe at the Hope Institute that everybody is a leader. And yes, that includes you. So we believe that because you're a leader, it is our duty, it is our privilege to help you develop those attributes, to help you develop that skill so that you can be the best leader possible that you can be. Now, everybody doesn't have a title or position, and so we don't limit leadership to those things. We believe that because leadership starts with yourself, any improvement that you make as a leader has a chance to change the world. And so you are in the right place if you want to develop, because that's what we're going to be talking about today and next week and last week. So if you're new here, make sure you like and subscribe, because that's how we grow. We're on the path to 500 subs. We're moving pretty quickly, honestly. So jump on the train. All right, I don't want you to get left behind. And share it with somebody that you know wants to develop, needs to develop, and is looking for ways to grow. This is a great chance for you to come 20, 30 minutes a week and become better than you were when you came. All right, now let's jump into the episode. Donald Trump wants to be a dictator, and I think I know why. The desire for power is insatiable. Of all the drugs known to man, power is by far the most addicting drug. And when you get a little bit of it, it just reminds you how much of it you don't have. And so think about you at a job and you're an employee and you have all these ideals that you want to enact, and you have all these ideals that you think could change the store. And so you're there for a while and you do good work and you get promoted to middle manager. So now you have a little more power. And then what do you think happens with most middle managers? They realize they don't have enough power, that they can't actually change the things that they want to change. They can't actually enact a lot of the things they wanted to enact. Think about your school when you run for school president and you say,
I'm going to change the lunch. I'm going to give...
We seen the Disney movie. Shout out to my Disney kid.
I'm going to change lunch. I'm going to give us recess twice a day. And I'm going to make sure we got pop for a snack every day.
And everybody's like, I can't wait for you to be school president. Recess twice a day sounds amazing. And they vote you in as school president. And then the principal goes, hey, so you can't give people a second recess because that's against the state laws and how many hours of learning you have to do per day. And because we already ordered all the food for lunch for the year, you can't actually change lunch. And you could do the pop, but you have to fund it because we don't have any money. So like you once you get a little power, a lot of times you realize how much you don't have. And so I think what Donald Trump is experiencing is this. He had a little power as a business owner, and that wasn't quite enough. And so then he became famous and he started the TV show and he got a little more power as not only being wealthy, but being recognizable and being famous. And that wasn't enough. I mean, it's clips of him saying in the 90s, like, I could be president, and saying it like flippantly, in a way that doesn't capture the weightiness of being president of the United States. And so he ran for election and he won and he was president. But what happens when you become president of the United States is you realize what checks and balances really are. And you realize how hard it can be to get policies passed, to do diplomacy, how hard it can be to honor some of the things you ran on because of the red tape and the different bureaucracies that exist. And so he loses the next election. And I think when he lost the next election, when Biden was sleepy, shout out to Sleepy Joe, man. It's the middle of the day. He's probably taking a nap somewhere. When he lost the next election, he realized the limits of the power of being president. And so this next time running, he's let it slip quite often that being president isn't enough power. That he thinks he believes he needs to be a dictator so that he can have the power to do the things he thinks he needs to do. The interesting part about this whole thing is because of the election cycle, it's probably impossible for any single president to become dictator in the way we elect and the way we do our government. Now, that's why I'm not talking about the possibility, more so the desire, because I think what it reveals is a lack of actual leadership. A lot of times people with charisma believe that they're leaders, but when it's time to lead, they realize they don't have enough power. And what that really means is they don't have the ability to influence. So they need the permission to dictate. Now, I need you to write that down because that's a bar. And so I want to talk about what are two things that make up a dictator, okay? 3 ways they get into power and 3 reasons they don't work. And so we're going to jump into it. I hope that you got your notepad out. This is going to be a great episode. What is a dictator? Because I think sometimes we might not know. A dictator is someone with total power. So what they say goes. Think single black mama. All right? She at the crib. Whatever she say goes. It ain't no pushback. Ain't no argument. Whatever mom say, go. That's a dictator. There's a person who behaves in an autocratic way. Autocratic just means they don't have to run anything by anybody else. Whatever they decide, whatever decision they make, that is the decision. I used to be like this when my mama left me in charge and it was me and my little sister at home. I run a tight ship. All right? If you don't do what I say, put these get these fisticuffs put on your body, okay? Because I said it. And it goes because mama left me in charge. She didn't leave me in charge that often. I wasn't left in charge very often. But a dictator, they have total power. And anybody with a little power can understand the allure of total power. Because when you have a little power, you can often be annoyed with the politics, for lack of a better word, of your position. Even if you're a CEO of a company, you have to get approval from the CFO. You got to get approval from the marketing team. You got to get approval from HR. All these other people that you got to go through to do what you want to do, even though you're the person in charge. And so there's oftentimes an annoyance with the slowness of the red tape and hierarchies. And so I think about this even in a marriage, a lot of husbands are terrible husbands because they want to be dictators and they don't want to lead. They don't want to influence. They don't want to guide. They don't want the back and forth. They just want to be able to say, this is what I say, and it goes. And that's not how marriages work. In case you don't know, they don't work that way. That's not that. And let me say this: depending on who you married to, all right. That's not how most marriages work. Most times there's some pushback. There's some give and take. There's some compromise. That's the big allure of being a dictator is you don't have to compromise. If you're the president, think about Barack Obama and how much compromising he did when he was in office with Republicans. and a lot of the bills he got passed, and a lot of those things, there was a lot of compromise between the president and the House and the Senate. And so the reason you want to be a dictator is you want to avoid compromise. And so how do dictatorships happen? This is something I was interested in because I've been seeing online since the second time Donald Trump began running. I have been seeing people talk about his desire to be a dictator and if it's actually possible. And so there are three ways that people become dictators in over countries. So the first way is they're actually voted in, like there's a democratic country, they're voted in, and then they take control of the government. They eliminate different people's votes. They will eliminate the voting process altogether. There are a lot of countries in South America that this has happened. In Africa, this has happened. Not as often as the second one, but this has happened a few times. And the most famous one of all time to me is Germany. Hey, this is how Adolf Hitler became a dictator in Germany. Is he was actually voted in by their republic, and then when he got in, he was like, "All right, y'all, so I run this now," and he kind of just eliminated the democratic process. Some historians believe that's one of the reasons he started the wars was because in a time of war he couldn't be voted out, and so that is kind of the path that Donald Trump is trying to take. He was voted in democratically, and it appears that he is attempting to eliminate opposition to his power. And it appears often that the Republican Party is kind of trying to make way for that to happen. That's not going to happen because this is the thing too. We're already halfway through Donald Trump's presidency. That's part of the issue. That's one of the reasons why I don't think it's possible in the United States is you have to be reelected so quickly that in January, he's going to start his if he wants to run again, he has to start his reelection campaign. And so it's hard to focus on being a dictator when you got to focus on winning another democratic election, which a lot of people are worried about that next election and how that's going to be. This ain't a political discussion. We're talking about leadership. Focus, all right? The second way is a military coup. This is what happens oftentimes in Africa. There's a general who doesn't like who's elected in office, and so they storm the Capitol, and then they're the dictator. And the third one is rebellion. We saw this in France. They had a huge rebellion. There's been some places in Europe that have had public rebellions where the public is just sick of who's in charge. And what happens often is they rebel and then they appoint. So they rebel against the current structure and they'll appoint someone as dictator. Why don't dictators work though? Because I think most leaders believe that if they had absolute power, they could make absolute change. And yet we have seen time and time again in history that method is ineffective in creating dynamic, lasting, positive change. And so there are three reasons why dictatorships do not work. Number one is the leader's lack of accountability. When you operate without accountability, you miss your blind spots. You really just do. A perfect example of this is I'm in Kansas City, so I'm on both sides of the border. I do a lot of work in Missouri as well. And Missouri is a Republican state and has been for all of time, okay? As long as I've been alive. They voted for Donald Trump by a landslide. But when the federal government just cut Medicaid, over 200,000 people in Missouri lost their insurance. And the vast majority of those people were Republican voters. The lack of accountability from the Republican Party to the people is what allows something like that to happen, right? If you don't have to deal with any backlash, you don't have to deal with people saying, wait a minute, that impacts me, then you can do whatever you want. Eventually, the people who supported you are the people who get pushed to the wayside, are the people that get impacted negatively. And then they no longer will support you. And so they will become the angry mob. They will become the protesters because they feel even stronger than the original people, your original opposition, because they believed in you and you let them down or they feel betrayed, right? And so they will flip on you and they will turn on you. And so that happens within the inner circle and outside. We saw this with Elon Musk. Elon Musk was in the in crowd. He was Trump's buddy. He was Trump's number one supporter. That term ran out. Trump ain't appoint him. Elon was like, just in case you ain't know, he on them files. You don't feel me? And I stole the election for Buddy. And it was like, fam, you was just taking pictures with him. So when people feel betrayed, they'll turn on you quickly. And so your lack of accountability, you doing things without asking first, without running it by people, oftentimes you offend the very people who support you. The second reason why dictators don't work, they have to suppress information. North Korea is a great example of this. Their TV can only show certain things. They don't have certain social media sites. China's the same way. Like when you are running a dictatorship, you have to suppress opposing opinions. You have to oftentimes suppress reality and fact, because everything that nobody does everything right. Nobody. And so when you have to maintain an image of perfection, you have to suppress the reality, the truth. And your mistakes, your shortcomings, the thing where you fall and you miss the mark. You have to hide those things, or people will realize, oh, this guy or this lady is not perfect. Maybe there does need to be some checks and balances. Maybe we do need some other people with opinions and voices. You don't want that, and so you have to suppress information. That's the second reason why I don't think Trump can ever become president. Information, especially in America, is too free. We know too much. We have too much access to information about everybody to ever trust anybody completely. That's one of the reasons why people oftentimes will vote a certain way. It's not even because they believe in that person, but they know they don't believe in the other person. And they know even if they don't believe in this guy or this lady, it's only 4 years. And so they'll vote for them knowing even if they're bad, they're not as bad as that person, and it will only be 4 years. And so that kind of information keeps us from trusting anybody completely. The last thing is long-term economic mismanagement. Dictators are bad for the economy. They're bad for the economy. And the reason is they only care about themselves. They care about themselves. They care about their family. They care about their friends. And so they get paid. The people close to dictators get paid. Cuba's a great example of this. Cuba, to this day, people are still living in high levels of poverty in Cuba. But the royal family, the dictators, they straight. They got a fat house. They got the nice cars. They got good internet. Cuba cut off like in the middle of the day, turn the internet off. Turn the power off. Turn the water. They still doing that to people in Cuba. Dictators got water all day. They got power all day. They got internet all day. And so the inequality of resources over a long term becomes so big that eventually people fight back. Eventually people are like, enough is enough. I'm not on that, which is why a lot of dictators be disappearing people, because people be fighting back and organizing, and then your cousin gone. That's what happens in a lot of these countries. If you look it up, if you do any research, it is in every country with a dictator. People get black hoods put over them and are no longer seen. It's so true. Okay, that is 3 reasons why, especially in a country built on economic opportunity. If a certain group of people have that opportunity for too long, there will be some pushback. The pendulum will swing, okay? And so I think Trump's desire to be a dictator reveals his inability to lead. When you lead well, you don't need absolute power, because you know how to yield your influence. You know how to steward your resources. You know how to convince people, and you can make convincing arguments based on your opinion, based on facts, based on personal buy-in and personal emotions. I think whenever anybody desires to be a dictator, it's because they lack communication skills, they lack ability to disseminate information properly, and they lack time. I believe if you want to lead well, you need time to do so. Dictators want to do things quickly. Leadership is a process. And so tell me what you think. I would love to hear your opinion on if you think dictators can work, on if you think dictators can be good leaders. I would love to hear what you think. And I can't wait. I'm gonna be reading the comments. I'll read all of them because I'm intrigued. I have an opinion. Obviously, you sat and hung out with me for a few minutes, but I would love to hear your opinion. Okay, and as always, it's a privilege and an honor for you to hang out with me for a little bit of time. I don't take it for granted. Please subscribe if you haven't and share with somebody. Like I said, we're on the road to 500 subs on YouTube, and we're making headway every day. But if you help me, we'll get closer. And so until next time, man, peace.